I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Well, first of all, I probably should tell you who I am, huh? Wow, just in case you don't know. I am Tiffany Godwin. I am the guest experience team lead here at UCity. For those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting, I want to meet you after this, and I pray that you have already felt welcomed and warm here. And we've already said earlier, but happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the room. Yeah, happy Mother's Day. But seriously, in terms of worship, guys, I don't want to lie and say that I don't put either part of the service or a gathering above another, but y'all, I really enjoy our time of worshiping through song. I just really love music, and so mainly I really love to dance, right? Like I dance like outside of here all the time. I dance in the shower, I dance in my room, I dance in the car, I dance everywhere. And so I was like, there was a time though where I didn't come to church dancing. Like I came and I was very like standoffish. I was very like, I don't know who's watching me, so I don't want to do anything that's, weird. But I love to dance. And so during this time, I love dancing and just moving. And I love to dance so much though, guys, that I took dance classes in middle school.
What?
Yeah, I did, Terrell, I did. No, but there was an elective class that we could have in middle school, and it was dance. And mainly we took it because it was super easy. I was really smart, like don't get me wrong, I wasn't just choosing it just because. But I chose it seriously because my friends were taking it, chose it because we heard great things about the teacher, like all these things were great about this dance class in middle school. And so I had cheered, a little bit, so I had like learned dances before. Like I was like, we're good. And there was this huge like end of year celebration, or not celebration, but what do you call it? Performance that we would have to put on, right? And so we got into the class and I'm like moving, dancing, grooving, doing my thing. And then y'all, one week, I don't know if we had like a family emergency or if your girl got sick, like I don't know what happened, but I missed like 2 to 3 days of this dance class that I love so much. And now on any other day, I would have been like, yay, I get to miss school, like we ain't tripping. But this time I was, because the performance at the end of the semester was coming like really soon. And we had not learned all the dances. And so I was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to come back and play catch up, basically, right? So I come back, I've missed 2 days or 3 days, I don't know how many. You know how we had AB days, I don't know if you guys did that too. But I came back and realized that I was far behind the class, like much farther than I even thought I was gonna be. Like they had learned all these dances. Like back in the day, the dances were, like the chicken head, right? Like we were doing the chicken, no, anybody? Yeah, chicken, oh, okay. We were doing the chicken head, we were swag surfing. We were doing all this kind of stuff. But, oh, you don't know this, you don't know swag. Well, it's better with people, Maria, so. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, there were so many different dances that we were doing back then that like we had incorporated into this dance class. And so while I knew those dances, I didn't know when they were supposed to come now that I've missed these 2 days. So anyway, I come back and the class has moved on. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have a desire to learn this. I know that I've done this before. Like I used to have this groove, I used to have this rhythm. And now I literally feel like I'm stumbling over my feet. I have no clue what's coming next. Like, what is going on? Like, I'm completely out of rhythm, out of groove, right? So how many of us, though, have felt like that in our lives? Yes, yes, all the hands are going up. Like, you have been in this rhythm, you've been in this groove, you've been able to move and shake and do your thing, and you're like, oh, everything's clicking, everything's fine. And then one day, something happens, or a season happens, whether you can put your finger on it or not, to where you see that, like, wait a minute, now I'm out of groove. Now I'm out of rhythm. Now I feel like I can't even dance or move, or I don't know what is happening, right? Like, yeah, you guys feel like that? Yeah. For sure. Some of you are like, I feel like that today. Yeah, and that's, look, totally get it, totally understandable. I'm with you. Have absolutely felt like that. And so the thing that we could stop on is thinking like, God is like doing something weird. Like, why would he allow this? Why is this happening to me, right? Like, I was just in a groove, God, we were good. So why now am I like, why is this happening to me, right? But I want us to know today that God is still in those rhythm changes, that God is doing something in those changes of rhythm, that he's actually doing something in us and through us and around us. that we might not be able to see, we might not be able to feel in the moment, in the middle of the rhythm change, but I promise you it's happening, okay? So, like, what is rhythm though? Like, it's something that we can just feel, right? So it's kind of hard for us to like actually describe and like say, like, it's just something we just know, right? It's like something that feels innate. It feels like, okay, like we got, what is this you're playing, Mikhail? The cajon. And we just feel the cajon's beat. Like everybody felt that today, right? And it was like, oh, that's something, but we can't like see it. Like we said, we can't see sound. And so it's just, rhythm is just something that you just feel. But of course, y'all know I'm gonna give you a definition of rhythm, right? So we can get on the same page here. So the definition of rhythm is a strong, regular, repeated pattern of movement or sound. It's a repeated pattern of movement or sound. Now, for some of us, the rhythm of our lives is like this really like organized thing. It feels like, you know, music and stuff is like on different beats, and so the 4x4, is that what it's called? 4/4, 4/4. Well, I should know this thing. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Where some of us feel like that, like our rhythm is very like organized. It's a cadence that's like, we know what's coming, that kind of thing. And then some of us are on this, yeah, Maria's like, yeah, that's me. You're on the other one, which honestly, because I have rhythm, I can't even do. I can't even do it. It's like I'm not even gonna try, but it's like oh man, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like a 3, no, it's not coming. Some of you know what I mean. Like it's not a rhythm that's on the 1, 2, 3, 4 beat. And so you're trying to but it works for you. Like it's something that you know and what's coming, whether the other people in the room know what's coming or not in your life. Like you know what it is, right? But it's this thing, again, that we just feel. It's this flow. It's kind of what everything in our life flows from, right? It's like this beat that we just move to, our rhythm. And Maya Angelou, the late poet, had this beautiful quote about rhythm, and she says, everything in the universe has a rhythm. Everything dances. Again, it's everything in the universe has a rhythm. Everything dances. And like, do we feel that, like moving through your day? Like you just feel like things that, like trees have their rhythm. Even a rhythm as much as like the leaves changing at a certain time. Like that's a rhythm, that's a repeated pattern of movement, right? Or we see the birds doing their thing, like they have their own like rhythm, right? Kind of thing. And some of you are experiencing like the rhythm of the seasons right now, where pollen is tearing you to pieces. I'm sorry, but pollen comes in the middle of a season of a rhythm, the rhythm of the year. And so we feel these different rhythms like all around us all the time, right? And we feel this because everything in the universe has rhythm, because that's just how God created it. Like if God is living and he's breathing, when he created, he literally breathed breath into everything he created. Therefore, it's gonna have some rhythm. Like we breathe and like our chest rises, right? Like there's heartbeats, there's rhythm within us all the time. And so now this is the thing though, if it's innate, if we feel like God has created us with this rhythm, if he's given it to us, then like, again, why does it need to change, right? Like why do we have these moments where we can't catch it? Like it should be normal, it should be something that, again, is just innate, it's just in us. And how do we like navigate through these times where the rhythm changes, right? That's what we really want to know. Like, how do I get through this season or this time of not feeling like I have rhythm? And what does scripture say about it, right? So we're gonna find out. I want you guys to meet me in Joshua chapter 6. And I'm gonna give you guys, of course, a second to get there. Of course, it's gonna be on the screen as well. Oh, it might, yep, it's on the screen, okay. Shout out to Chase. Everybody give Chase a hand. He has really been doing his thing this morning. We so appreciate you. So in Joshua chapter 6, for a little bit of context here, what's happening is we find Joshua. He's the commander of the Israelite army at this point. But before that, there's a lot that has happened before he got to this point. And so what happened first is Moses, who was the one who led the Israelites out of captivity. They were in bondage and in slavery in Egypt, and he went in. God called him to go and release the people. And so he led them out of Egypt, but then they went into the wilderness. But there was this land that God had promised them, this land that was flowing with milk and honey, this beautiful land, right? And yet they're in the wilderness with Moses. Now, the interesting thing here is that the journey from slavery or bondage, or where they were in Egypt, to the point of where their promised land was not supposed to be that far. Like, it wasn't supposed to be that long. But they were there, y'all, for 40 years. 40 years. And here's an interesting reason why. It's because actually they had gotten so stuck in their rhythm of bondage and of slavery that that had moved them to literally disobeying and not trusting God and what he said. So they had literally gotten so comfortable. They didn't even know it though. They're like, well, we're released, so we are in this new place, we should be good. They had kept that, so it had just repeated pattern that had just kept going in their minds, that they were so stuck in this, again, rhythm of bondage, rhythm of slavery, that they're trying to now or they have the same patterns as they're in this new land. And Moses is like, y'all, I'm trying to get us to where God wants us to go, but y'all are not listening. Y'all not obeying. You're worshiping other gods. All these things are happening in this land. And so now where we are in Joshua is the commander and the leader of the Israelites now, the Israelite army. And the whole generation that was in bondage and saw the wilderness has now died off, including Moses. Moses was the leader, and he did not even get to go into the promised land. He got to see it, but he didn't get to go into it. And so now we have we have Joshua here. He's leading this army of a new generation. He's the new commander, and this is a new land. What God said was, I promised you this land, but that doesn't mean you're not gonna have to take it captive. You're not gonna have to go in and fight, right? So what happens here? We're starting at Joshua chapter 6, verse 1. Joseph. I keep saying Joseph. Okay, God has given Joshua these instructions of how they are going to take captive the land of Jericho, which is the first land that they enter or face right after they cross the Jordan River, which is right into the promised land that they are promised, okay? So that's where we are. So let's look at these instructions that God gives Joshua in chapter 6, verse 1. It says, now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city once. This you shall do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day, you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. Last verse 5, and when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat. And the people shall go up, everyone straight before him. Okay, so interesting here. God, this is an army, right? An army. So our vision of an army is these men are armed. They've got all this armor on. They have all the weapons they need to go and fight, to take captive or to possess land or to possess anything that they're trying to possess, right? But the Lord told Joshua that they were going to march around the city. Does that not seem weird to anybody else in the room? No? Everybody's like, yeah, it seems fine. But he's like, come and I want you to march around the city, not just once or twice, but 7 times you're going to march around the city. Actually, we can't do math, but 6 days, 1 time, the 7th day, 7 times. But nowhere in there does he say, you're gonna fight first. So I just find that interesting because they probably had gotten into this rhythm. They had already fought to get to this point, this generation. And so they've already been trained to do this, to fight. They haven't necessarily been trained to just march around cities, right? So there's a few things that I think we can pull from here in order to navigate how we can actually best navigate these times of when our rhythms change too, because they are absolutely having a rhythm change. Because again, this is a new people, a new generation, a new land with a new commander, which means this is all the perfect storm for a rhythm change. Needs to happen, right? Okay, so the first thing we can see here is that, or the first thing that we would do, need to do and can see here whenever we are trying to navigate our new seasons and navigate these rhythm changes, is we are going to have to turn up the volume. We're going to have to turn up the volume. What do I mean by that? In verse 8 through 10, I'm going to read it for us. It says, "And just as Joshua had commanded the people, the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord went forward, blowing the trumpets with the ark of the covenant of the Lord following them. The armed men were walking before the priests who were blowing the trumpets, and the rear guard was walking after the ark, while the trumpets blew continually." That's a key point. The trumpets blew continually. And then in verse 10 it says, "But Joshua commanded the people, 'You shall not shout or make your voice heard, neither shall any word go out of your mouth until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout.'" So we have to turn up the volume because that's literally what they were forced to do, because the men who were carrying, the priests who were carrying the ram's horns are blowing the trumpets continually. And I don't know about you, but I mean, maybe they were on the opposite beat of the 4/4, but they are still blowing these horns on a cadence. I'm pretty sure they weren't just like, going crazy. I mean, that's probably what I would have done, but I'm not in this army, right? So I'm pretty sure they're blowing these things on a cadence, on a rhythm, on a 1, 2, 3, 4. And so even if the army is not trying to keep up with them, like on march on beat, I bet you their bodies were just like, well, I guess. Because how many of you know, whenever you're listening to music, right, and there's a beat that's just driving the song, even if you don't know the words to the song, if you don't know the song, you never heard the song, you're like, wait a minute, this got some, this got a little something to it, so I'm gonna try to move with it, right? So I believe that is probably what was happening here. And also, my dad was in the Army, and I remember going to their drill practices or drill weekends, and there would be like times where we would see like groups of soldiers that would be standing around doing their thing. And then we'd hear one man say something like, "Attention," right? And he's got all the attention of that group of soldiers. And then he's a cadence caller, so then he starts to march them forward by saying, yo left, yo left, yo left, right, left, right. So that means they're marching when he says left, their left foot better be down on that ground. And their right foot better be down on the ground. And the thing is, if they are not marching on beat, they could really screw up the whole rhythm of that group, right? So same thing here. If the trumpets are blowing, I bet all of them are walking on rhythm, right? And then even more so, if that wasn't loud enough to them already, Joshua told them to be quiet. Like, don't say anything, neither shall any word, don't shout or make your voice heard, neither shall any word go out of your mouth until the day I tell you. And so we see here that they couldn't even move to their own like rhythm or sound that they might have created for themselves. They had to move to the one that God was giving these priests and how they were blowing the trumpets, right? And so it's not just the thing is here that it's not just God setting them up with this rhythm for this battle, it's him setting them up for the entire like season they're about to go into of fighting. Does that make sense? Like, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you this rhythm here, and you are going to go fight. Like, there are cities that have to be, you just gotta fight them, and that's how it's gonna happen for you to possess the land. But right now, I've gotta get you started somewhere, and I've gotta get you on a different pace, a different rhythm, and it has to be mine. And so what he did was, again, he's having them march around in this way with the loud sound, the loud rhythm, but it's the one that he's created for them. So it's totally different than, again, what they're used to, but it is setting them up for the next season. And so then the second thing that we have here that we need to do or can do is we're gonna have to do something new. Whenever we're trying to navigate this new rhythm or trying to find our rhythm, we're gonna have to do something new. Now this one, I know you've heard before, but like in just other parts of life. But truly, whenever God is calling you to something new, it's going to require a new thing from you. And so the interesting thing here is that we learned, the Israelites before this that had come out of captivity had this rhythm of bondage, this rhythm of disobeying, this rhythm of not trusting, right? I don't know about you, but I don't think God was going to send the same mindset into a new promised land. Like, I don't think he was like, oh, well, you guys your generation before you didn't really trust me. They didn't really rock with me. It's okay. I'll just send you guys into here too. Like, I think, because we're not going to do that most of the time with somebody in our lives. Like, I don't know if I'm going to let you keep coming in and not trusting or not, doing whatever. And so God has them, again, doing this new thing of marching around the city, of listening to this new rhythm, this new sound. And it's not, a part of it is that it's not just them having to do this physically. Like, it's not just a new physical thing of like, I'm marching instead of fighting, or listening instead of talking or shouting. It's actually really spiritual and mental for them too, right? Because not only can they not, like I said, they not do the fighting right off bat, they have to literally trust him with everything because of how they are taking this city. Like, they have to do this new thing and they're like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't adding up. This isn't how we're supposed to be able to do this or how we're supposed to do this. But I'm gonna have to trust God because that is what he told Joshua that we needed to do. And so it has to be this new thing mentally and physically for me here to do, right? They're giving us a beautiful picture of Proverbs 3:5-6 that you guys have certainly heard, I hope. But if not, I'm telling you it today. And Proverbs 3 verse 5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And so they are literally having to trust in him to direct the path that they are going on. And it's, again, it's new, it's different, it's fresh. It's something that they've never done before, but it's also something they maybe have never seen before in terms of how they're marching around rather than fighting. And again, it's another piece of this is a thing, the new thing that they're doing is not just like psychologically doing something for them and setting them up. It's also psyching out the people in Jericho. Because what I haven't told you about them is that we read in the first verse that Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. So like, that kind of looks like they were already afraid, right? Like, because if they weren't, then they would be coming out like, hey, we're getting ready to come out and fight you. But they're actually staying inside and nobody's coming in or out because of how they see the Israelite army. And what we've learned is that Jericho, honestly, was not this like huge city. It was a city that had these huge walls around it, like we said, but it wasn't this city that was like, could muster up this huge army. Some scholars have said that it would only muster up about 500 people, whereas the Israelites had at least 5,000. So this doing something new, like it probably just doesn't make sense to these soldiers because they're like, we can just run up and get them. Like, we could just run in and take over the entire city. But God's like, no, I need to get you on this new wave that I want you to be on. And so I'm gonna have you do something new here, right? And so now some of you are like, okay, you've told me that I need to turn up the volume. You told me that I need to do something new. But I don't feel like I've ever felt like God has said or told me the rhythm. Or all I do is feel the rhythm changing, right? Like, I don't necessarily hear him telling you what the new rhythm is, whereas he did it here. The thing is that the Bible also tells us that if we would just seek him with our whole hearts, that he will be found. And so some of you are like, I don't even know what that means. And I just want to tell you, it literally means whatever you think it means in this season. It's like, either you're going to keep talking to God, keep going to him, however that looks. Does that look like praying more? Does that look like reading more? I'm not going to try to tell you exactly what it means because it's specific to each of us. But it is this thing of continuing to seek him and seek him wholeheartedly Like, God, I really need you. Like we just sang, here I am to worship, and Terrell went into that here. Like, Lord, I'm giving you everything because I really don't know how to do this by myself. And so if I'm going to turn up the volume and listen to you more, if I'm going to keep doing this new thing, you are like, I need you. You're gonna have to show me something. And so just keep seeking him for the new and for this thing that you have to do differently. Now, the thing is, there's a third thing. And it's that we're not just gonna have to keep doing this new something one time whenever we're trying to navigate finding our rhythm again. We're gonna have to do it over and over and over. The third part of this is to keep doing the new thing. Keep doing something new. How many of you in here are like TikTok fans? Like, Allie's like, yes, I am. We got a whole bunch of TikTokers in the room. Okay. So whenever y'all see a dance on TikTok, Kimmy, I'm coming to you. I'm not gonna make you do the dance. I mean, I might. No, I'm just kidding. But whenever you see the new dance on TikTok, and you're like, okay, I think I can learn that. I think I'm gonna do that. And you do it, do you only do it one time to learn it? How many times on average, Kimmy, would you say you've had to?
1,000.
Oh no. 1,000, 5, a whole bunch. And, I mean, yeah, anybody else want to throw out a number you've done? How many times have you tried to learn a new TikTok dance? Calvin, I know you was learning a TikTok dance. I can't. No, I'm not gonna ask. I'm not gonna ask from here. I'm like, which side do you want? Never mind. No, but really, you're doing it multiple times in order to get the dance. But let's say you only did it once. How defeated would you feel? You'd be like, man, I just knew I could do that. I knew I had this in the bag. I knew I could do this dance. And then you're like, but I only did it once and I couldn't get it. I must not have rhythm. I must not be able to do this. I must not be able to dance. Like you start, like, that's kind of where you would stop. But no, like you have to keep doing, oh, we got Jen, you guys are doing it. You guys are doing a dance later. She needs the rhythm help? Okay, Jen. Just do it over and over. You got this. Oh my God, I can't.
I'm used to it.
I love it. This is everything. I'll teach you guys TikTok dances.
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna, listen, everybody is like, we're doing it. So you have to keep doing this dance over and over and over to get it, to find your groove. Like to actually find your groove. And so the same thing with this new rhythm. Like I think we feel like if we do get instruction from God or we feel this shift, and God's like, hey, I'm trying to get you into this new rhythm because there's a new thing I'm bringing you into. Then we're like, well, okay, let me try one time what you just said, even if it doesn't make sense. Let me try doing this one thing that you just said. And then we're like, well, God, that didn't work. God, hold up, you said do what? That didn't work. You said go talk to somebody new? That didn't work. Like that time didn't work for me. Whatever it is, it didn't, you feel like it doesn't work on that first time. But how many of you know when you keep doing the new thing that God has told you to do or instructed you to do or you feel led to do, then you're like, oh, wait a minute. This is getting a little bit easier. I'm starting to find my groove. This is starting to make sense, you know? And so even in this story, he had them, I think there's really a grace that he had for them to walk around these walls one time 6 days and 7 times on that 7th day. And so the same thing happens in your life. Whatever God is calling you to do, new or different or odd, and you're like, I don't know about this. We have to like just keep doing it, keep trusting, right? And so the thing here, like we talked about, the new thing that they really had to do was not just physical, it was a trusting thing. Like they had to keep trusting God every step of the way. If you were to continue to read how they captured and possessed the entire land of Canaan, then you would see how many different ways, different methods God kept bringing to them to tell them like, no, you're not just fighting. No, you're not just going to be, using a spear. Like, I'm going to tell you to do this. Like, I'm going to go before you. I'm going to throw famine. I'm going to, like, all these different things that they had to continue to trust. But had they not started here at the very first battle in their new land, I do not know if we would be reading the same stories in the Bible, right? And so I won't leave you hanging, okay? So in Joshua chapter 6, We're going to read 15 and 16 and then 20 so that we can close out the story. Because some of you are like, well, what happened, right? So in verse 15, it says, on the seventh day, they rose early at the dawn of day and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. It was only on that day that they marched around the city 7 times. 16 says, and at the 7th time, when the priests had blown the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And then verse 20 says, so the people shouted and the trumpets were blown. As soon as the people heard the sound of the trumpet, the people shouted a great shout, and the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they captured the city. So here's a really awesome thing. Y'all, they finally get to fight. They finally get to do what they have been called and trained to do, right? But it came after they had to walk around the city and do the thing that God was telling them to do first. But also, they also got to scream, they got to shout, like they got to do all these things that they felt like was already kind of their rhythm, but they had to wait to do that until after the first rhythm. They had already done the first thing that God told them to do in this new rhythm, right? And so that's the same way, like I said, in our lives. If you would just continue to do this new thing, continue to do whatever God is calling you to do in this new way, then eventually, as you catch your groove and you'll start to see how God works and how he's working in you and through you, right? And so that's more of like the how to do it, right? Like we talked about the how do I navigate these seasons. But I know some of you are still like, yeah, okay, but why does he do this? Like, why does God allow these rhythm changes to happen in our lives? That's the frustrating part, right? Does anybody else get frustrated when the rhythm changes? Yeah, like you're like, I thought we had it. I thought everything was clicking. Why did you need to switch things up? I don't get it. Well, I was watching this documentary, don't ask why, about Earth. And it was about the layers of the Earth. And basically, you probably learned this in science class. I don't remember it, okay, so that's why I'm telling you now. But basically, the layers of the Earth, as you get deeper into the Earth and you get closer to the core of the Earth, the layers are very distinct, and they're made up of different things. They're made up of different rocks, different minerals, different whatever. And they are, again, that's just as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into the space that we can't even really dig to right now. And the way that they know, that scientists know, that they're made up of different things is because earthquakes happen and help them out, actually. And the way that earthquakes happen and help them is that they send seismic waves or sound waves through these layers. And they have found that from the point that an earthquake starts to the point that it ends is one side of the earth to the other. So like an earthquake doesn't start on one side and then hit the core of the earth and stop. Like it actually goes all the way to the other side of the earth. Sometimes, of course, you can't feel it, but that's what the scientists have found that happens. And so what they do is they follow the waves. And then they see how the rhythm of the waves is bouncing against each thing in these layers. And so again, they found as you go deeper, there's these layers, if they're liquid and lava and that kind of thing, then they're moving a little bit quicker. And as you get closer, they're moving a little bit quicker, right? Because the center of the earth is just high. And then they found that some, they'll bounce a little bit slower because it's just hard, heavy rock, right? And so this is much like us. Like as we go to God and we continue to seek him and he continues to do this work in us, what's happening, 2 things are happening simultaneously. 1, we're getting pulled deeper and deeper into relationship and intimacy with God. Now, how many of you know, like getting pulled deeper into relationship is not comfortable? First of all, right? Like, as you start to meet people and talk to them, you're like, yeah, I don't know how far we can go. Like, even just as friends, like, I don't know how much I can tell you. I don't know. And so you get deeper and you're like, this is uncomfortable. But the other thing that's happening at the same time is that he is continually shaping you and molding you into a new creation, into something new. And so just like these rocks, as you go deeper, rocks are changing, the layers are changing, and the rhythm is changing as it bounces. And you're getting just deeper and deeper and deeper into relationship. You are changing as you get deeper and deeper into this intimacy with God. And he's continuing to have to mold you and shape you. And so your rhythm has to change. Yeah. But then the thing that's interesting is, like I told you, the scientists need the earthquakes, or else they can't, like they don't have waves to study. So in our lives, we're like, well, why, God, would rhythm change? Like, why are you changing the rhythm? But the thing is that we need the shifts. God has to allow the shifts and the rhythm changes to happen in order for us to even see that we've changed. In order for us to even see that there's a difference in our relationship with him and our relationship with people and how we show up in the world. But we wouldn't know it if he didn't send a shift. Like if he didn't send something that like, hey, here's your rhythm. Here's the new rhythm that I'm now putting you on. And so some of you might feel like, well, I thought it was because I made a mistake. Or I thought it was because I got off the path that he wanted me on, or whatever it is. But a lot of times it's literally just because God wants to show you that you're changing. He wants to show you that he's changing you and you are becoming made new every single day. And it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to make sense. More times than not, it's probably not going to make sense. But as you continue to seek God in it and continue to give him everything, just tell him, I don't even want my rhythm. Then he'll continue to speak back to you and breathe into you this new rhythm and shape you and mold you as you move forward. And you will see that soon enough, one day, you'll be catching your groove again. So if there are any of you in this room, I don't know where all of you are, but I sense that there are some of you, again, who really are feeling this rhythm change. Like you're feeling like God he's sending an earthquake. Oh, it's a big one. Right? And you're like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do with this, God? And I just want to encourage you today and tell you, again, he's not punishing you. He's not doing it because you've done something wrong. He's doing it to show you that he is still at work in you and in your life. And he's putting you on the rhythm that he wants you on. And it's going to get easier as you continue to just keep going and keep seeking him. But that's the biggest piece. Continue to seek him with your whole heart and all of you, and he will be found. You will find the rhythm that he wants to put you on. You will find the new step. Maybe one day you were doing the chicken head, the next day you swag surfing. Okay? But he's got to get you there. And so don't feel down. Or if you do feel down, be encouraged. Because God is still working and still moving and still doing everything that he wants to do in you and in your life. Amen? Amen. So there's this thing we do here if you're new to UCity. It's called a shared challenge. It's shared because all of us are going to do it here together right now. It's a challenge because it's going to be a little different. And for some of you, this is going to be your first step of doing something new today. And so what we do is we're going to share with one another. You can share with someone you do know, you don't know. I encourage you to get even farther outside of that comfort zone with someone you maybe don't know. But the share challenge for the day is to share an area of your life where the rhythm is changing. This could be your whole entire life, but share an area of your life where the rhythm is changing and how you're navigating it. And then pray with one another and encourage one another through this time. And I'll go first. Calvin's face was like, whoa, wait a minute. I will go first here. Since being a part of UCity, I have been, and I'm looking at Pastor Terrell because it's your fault. No, but I have been really, really challenged in vulnerability. One of our values here at UCity is that vulnerability saves. And so we absolutely have to start. It's so uncomfortable, but we have to start it somewhere. And so, Jen, your face too. It's like, ugh, God. And so whenever I got here, y'all, I thought I'm vulnerable enough with people. I tell people enough. We're good. And then I got here and I was like, wow, y'all really don't think I'm telling y'all enough? Y'all, Maria, you don't think I'm telling you enough? No, but we have had to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And it has been so uncomfortable. And I still struggle to find this groove in vulnerability. I still struggle to find it, whether you guys think I do or not. And so the thing is that while we believe that vulnerability saves, we don't necessarily believe that vulnerability is easy. It should be a little tough. It's going to be a little tough. to share these things and share things about your life and about you and show up as your full self in this space and in any space in your life. But we really encourage you to lean into this moment and lean into just being vulnerable in your life moving forward, okay? So we're gonna start today, like I said, the share challenge. Find someone beside you, and you're just gonna share an area of your life where the rhythm is changing and how you feel like you're navigating it.